against Israel over the weekend, we saw two things. First, we saw a sovereign nation that takes its security seriously mount a successful defense. Israel's air defense, with the help of regional and coalition partners and the vigilant support of brave U.S. service members in the region, intercepted and neutralized the bulk of the 300 drones and missiles launched by Iran. Unfortunately, the second thing we saw was a commander-in-chief sticking to the same playbook, second-guessing the will of the Israeli people and trying to tie the hands of an ally under attack. President Biden insisted ahead of Iran's attack that America's commitment to Israel was ironclad. But after 3 years of appeasement and weakness and 6 months of quibbling over Israel's right to self-defense, I'm not really sure who he expects to believe that assertion. Just saying so, saying our commitment is ironclad, doesn't make it so. Words don't paper over the glaring rifts between the Biden administration and the National Unity Government in Jerusalem. The public criticism of Israel by senior administration officials undoubtedly influences the decisions of Israel's adversaries. If the president's commitment to a vital ally were, quote, ironclad, end quote, his response to this weekend's attack would not be to lecture her leaders against responding in self-defense. Would an American commander-in-chief fail to respond if an adversary launched 300 missiles at American soil? The fact that our collective defense has worked in this case doesn't obviate the threat. It doesn't make the need to compel Iran to change its behavior any less urgent. Make absolutely no mistake, Iran is not deterred. It is actually emboldened. The regime that attacked Israel this weekend is the same one that greenlit the violent hijacking of a commercial shipping vessel earlier the same day. It's the same Iran that trains, equips, sustains, and expends terrorist proxies from Lebanon to Gaza to Iraq and Syria to Yemen. It's the same regime that continues to grow an arsenal of long-range ballistic missiles and advance closer and closer to nuclear weapons capability. And of course, it's the same murderous regime that continues to equip Russia's brutal violence in Ukraine. It is no mere coincidence that the mixed barrage of UAVs, cruise missiles, and ballistic missiles designed to complicate Israel's air defenses is the same mix Russia uses to launch devastating and frequent long-range attacks against Ukrainian cities. Our adversaries are working together to make America and our friends less safe and less secure. It's time for the Commander-in-Chief to lead allies and partners in an international effort to impose meaningful costs on Iran, threatening the things its leaders hold dear and changing this regime's violent behavior. We can't afford weakness. We can't afford to be deterred by Iran, the easiest way to hasten escalation and widen war is to show you're unwilling or unable to meet aggression with strength. There's only one way to stop a bully. So it's time for the Commander-in-Chief to stand by our allies and stand up to our adversaries. He can actually begin that today. But it's also time for Congress to deliver the urgent investments that our industrial base, our forces, and our partners will need to meet and outcompete the growing and linked threats that we face. The Senate passed an urgent national security supplemental 2 months ago. 2 months ago. It would help meet the urgent needs of Ukraine's resistance, equip Indo-Pacific allies to deter PRC aggression, replenish Israel's stocks of critical capabilities, and expand our own capacity to refill and deploy the arsenal of democracy. Anyone taking the challenges we face seriously knows that these unmet needs are absolutely urgent. So I'll once again urge our House colleagues to take up this legislation without delay. On a related matter, in December, the director of the FBI told our colleagues on the Judiciary Committee that when he surveys threats to the homeland, he saw, quote, blinking lights everywhere. Iran's efforts to kill Americans, compromise our communications and data, and collect intelligence on U.S. soil are already well known. At this point, so are the hundreds of known or suspected terrorists encountered along our borders in just the current fiscal year. At the end of the week, an essential authority America's law enforcement and intelligence professionals rely on to monitor and mitigate serious threats is actually set to expire. The crucial window into the activities of those who wish America harm is set to go dark. Of course, a few days ago, the House passed legislation that reauthorizes Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act before it lapses. This authority should not be controversial, and it should not be conflated with well-known FBI abuses of FISA's Title I. Section 702 provides the authority to collect the communications of foreign nationals located overseas when they are reasonably likely to yield intelligence value. In practice, this means suspected foreign terrorists or foreign intelligence operatives, again, all of them located overseas. Section 702 both gives us this critical information and places guardrails on how this collection is conducted. Importantly, it does not authorize the surveillance of Americans for which a warrant is already required. Have there been problems in the FISA process from malfeasance and incompetence? Yes, there have. That's why the bill includes the most significant accountability reforms to the FBI in generations. The bill includes the most significant reforms to FISA, both Section 702 and Title I, in a generation. The bill the Senate will receive this week already places firm parameters on the FBI's ability to query the database of lawfully collected foreign intelligence or communications that might involve U.S. persons, either as a target or an asset of a foreign terrorist or intelligence operative. It creates further new reporting requirements and increased accountability for abuse and misconduct in the foreign intelligence surveillance court system, including direct reporting to Congress on adverse personnel actions and noncompliance. And it imposes new serious criminal consequences for unlawful disclosures of court proceedings. I say all of this as context for any demands that the Senate place further limits on the use of critical FISA authorities. Let me be clear, the data collected under Section 702 is collected lawfully. It is entirely reasonable under the Constitution. Any incidental collection of communications by or about U.S. persons is also reasonable. Every court that has looked at that question has said so, and they're right. Misguided efforts to require a criminal law warrant to sort and organize those data on U.S. persons would end the ability of the FBI to keep Americans safe. Frankly, they would forget the lessons of 9/11. So I'll oppose any such efforts and urge my colleagues to do the same. We have until Friday to avoid a dangerous lapse in a critical tool for identifying and stopping espionage and terrorism against the United States. If any of our colleagues believes that now is an appropriate moment to make this mission even more difficult, I'd be very interested to hear that rationale. America is facing the most dangerous combination of national security challenges since the end of the Cold War. I'll not be a party to any effort to make it harder to meet these challenges, and the Senate will not allow vital security authorities to go dark.